We greet you at the start of a new week. It could be a very consequential week as it relates to the election of our 47th president. Presidential debate tomorrow night. Kamala Harris, Donald Trump in Philadelphia. We will talk a bit about that debate today, more on that tomorrow, but it comes in the aftermath of the release of a 354-page congressional document that really goes back to where Joe Biden's presidency started to fall apart. I think any of us who knew Joe Biden being a classic example of a career politician who continually failed up and suddenly found himself in a position where his office would expose his ineptitude, knew that eventually the Biden presidency was going to go bad. It went very bad with his blind determination to withdraw all U.S. troops from Afghanistan 3 years ago in advance of the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And it is there where Donald Trump should zero in tomorrow night in the debate. Because here's the thing, on ABC with David Muir and some other catalog model sitting beside him moderating this debate, you know with absolute certainty that this is not going to be a fair debate to Donald Trump. You absolutely know there are going to be questions about January 6th and insurrection and Donald Trump being a threat to democracy and the like. And Donald Trump should counter that with a couple simple statements. Number one, the only person who died in the January 6th riot at the Capitol was a Trump supporter, not any police officers, not any legislators, and that the business of the day, certifying the election of Joe Biden, was completed after a few-hour delay. That's not much of a threat to democracy. Our institutions are stable, as they were that day and as they are today. But if you want to talk about something that matters, something that resonates today, something that has translated into instability on the world stage and invited a war between Russia and Ukraine, the precipice of a war in the Pacific between China and Taiwan, and another war in the Middle East between Gaza and Israel, you need only look at the withdrawal from Afghanistan, which is condemned because of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's decisions and their refusal to pay any attention to what U.S. military leaders had to say about the consequences of that withdrawal. Now, listen, this is not the show to come to if you want the leaders of the U.S. military to be defended, the people who have presided over a plummet in military recruiting, the people who have prioritized DEI over the only things that kids in rural America really care about, defending freedom by killing bad guys and blowing stuff up. I've said before, that would be my motto if I wanted to recruit young men in the Bible Belt to the military. Kill bad guys and blow stuff up. I might make it a little bit more salty than blow stuff up. But for the purposes of this show, I won't, figuring you can follow my drift. That is what young men want to do. They do not want to go to be demonstrations of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the falling numbers in the military and the fact that they put transgender enlistees in barracks with people whose biology is decidedly different, particularly as it pertains to women soldiers who are creeped out and threatened by men masquerading to be women, falls at the feet of the U.S. military. So this is not the show to come to hear a defense of U.S. military leadership. But as it concerns the strategy related to the Afghanistan withdrawal, they were not wrong when they told Joe Biden exactly what would happen, and Joe Biden turned a blind and a deaf ear to it. And Kamala Harris, lest any of us forget, tried to dunk on the military withdrawal from Afghanistan days afterward when questioned by Dana Bash of CNN about whether she was in the room and whether she approved of the actions taken by Joe Biden.
Afghanistan, yes. Were you the last person in the room? Yes. And you feel comfortable? I do.
So that was then, and here.
Yes, so that was then. Apologize for the sloppy edit on that. And now This gives Donald Trump a wide swath on which he can attack Kamala Harris tomorrow night. Now, again, it may not be asked about it by David Muir, but Trump can ask about it at the end of his answer. He's asked about January 6th. He can answer about January 6th. I said peaceful and patriotically protest. You guys want to pin that on me? Are you going to ask her about Afghanistan? And don't wait to the end to ask that, because no, the answer is they're not going to ask her, and you don't want to start crosstalk so she can have an I'm speaking moment. But you want to say, what about the 350-page report that came out from the House this week as they investigated? Of course, Democrats are trying to paint this as, oh, coincidental, not so much, rather purposeful political timing. Oh, they released it in advance of the debate, and they're trying to make a political point. Michael McCall, congressman who headed up the committee that issued this report, has a very simple explanation for why this report took 3 years to put together. And his explanation makes perfect sense to me.
The reason it took so long, quite frankly, was the first year the Democrats were in power, they did nothing. So for 2 years, I've been serving subpoenas, threatening to hold witnesses like the secretary in contempt to get the documents, to get the testimony that we got to get this report I have today. Now, we're not even finished with this investigation. But I can tell you it wasn't political at all. The fact is, every top general, every intelligence community officer warned against this. And yet the White House had rose-colored lenses about what's happening on the ground. The truth was coming up. The truth was manipulated and then spun out to the American people that everything's going to be just fine. Well, guess what? It wasn't. And you know why? Because they didn't have a plan. There was no evacuation plan as required by federal law. The day the plan came out was the day the Taliban overran Kabul. Too little, too late.
So that's Michael McCall, Texas congressman, House Foreign Affairs Committee leader, and the guy who issued this report. What are some of the damaging findings in it? I told you the Biden administration disregarded warnings that the Taliban was not holding up its end of the agreement that it negotiated with Donald Trump. When Republicans try to tell you, or when Democrats try to tell you, rather, oh, Donald Trump's the one who negotiated the deal and we were forced to follow it. Well, you know what else Donald Trump negotiated? He negotiated Title 42. He negotiated Remain in Mexico. He negotiated Keystone XL pipeline. He negotiated a lot of things, building the Texas border wall. And Joe Biden seemed to have no problem getting rid of those policies on his first day in office via executive order, 94 of them. Why did Joe Biden feel like he was bound by a Trump agreement that played out, what, 9 months, 8 months after Joe Biden took office? That's a ridiculous assertion on the part of the Biden administration. It is meant to shift blame because, of course, there is ample blame solely on Joe Biden. It's disgusting that the Taliban held a parade a couple of weeks ago with the $10 billion-ish in military equipment that we left behind at Bagram Air Force Base, which is 50 miles from Kabul, where you can see any imminent threat coming in, where we abandoned it in the middle of the night, left all the military equipment behind. As Donald Trump has said before, Mark Milley told him, oh, Mr. President, it'll be cheaper to leave it behind than it would be to fly it to a friendly country a couple of 100 miles away. And oh, by the way, then the Taliban broke in and they let loose every prisoner in the prisons at Bagram Air Force Base. And some of those were involved in the attacks on Hamid Karzai Airport, which was an absolute train wreck, trying to get not just our American soldiers out, but people from Afghanistan who had helped us in our 20 years in Afghanistan, translators, people who provided valuable intelligence. And oh, by the way, how's life for the women in Afghanistan now? Covered up with only their eyes showing in their burqas, and they have no rights, and they can't go to school. And they're treated as property. They're treated as property. And this would be a good thing for Donald Trump to bring up the words of Kamala Harris on August 21st, 2019. She's running for vice president at that point in time with Joe Biden. And she's asked about what she'll do to protect the women of Afghanistan. And she said, I will bring together our military leaders, national security advisors, and top diplomats to coordinate and implement that withdrawal plan. Oh, she's a genius. I fully recognize the importance of diplomacy and the development to success in Afghanistan, and I want to ensure that the country is on a path to stability, that we protect the gains that have been made for Afghan women and others, and that it never again becomes a safe haven for terrorists. A year later, it was a safe haven for terrorists. Al-Qaeda, ISIS-K, Taliban, all because of Joe Biden's feckless withdrawal, which he has deemed an extraordinary success. Hopefully Donald Trump will beat them over the head with it.
Be a warm afternoon. That haze coming from some distant wildfires. Our high today 80, clear tonight low 54. Hazy sun, much warmer day tomorrow, the high 88. And then sunny, very warm day Wednesday, the high near 89. Sunny to partly cloudy, another warm afternoon Thursday, the high.
Don't have that big lipstick mark.
Monday means an afternoon for me, concentrating on my side business in flooring. And if you need flooring in your home, BruceHooley.com is the place to go. Click flooring in the upper right-hand corner of the page. Had a colleague say to me today, hey, I need new flooring in my condominium. Can you do it? Of course. What is entailed? Well, you let me know where you live, and we make a time, and I come, and I measure your space, and I tell you what we have available, which includes all the name brands, all the major name brands. All those things that you'll find at the big box stores, all those things you'll pay more for at the big box stores and wait longer to get installed. I can explain to you why we can do it cheaper and do it faster. I've had a lot of satisfied clients. In fact, every single one is a satisfied client because we take customer service seriously. So go to BruceHooley.com and click flooring in the upper right-hand corner of the page. Get your new flooring and enjoy it yourself rather than doing it for someone else when you're getting ready to sell your space. Flooring lasts a long time. Make a prudent decision. Go to BruceHooley.com. Click the flooring tab in the upper right-hand corner of the page. After we left the air on Friday, in advance of the Aptus Retirement Blueprint Radio Show with Josh Pick that airs at 6 o'clock Friday after the Windsor Report and re-airs at noon Saturday. And by the way, we'll have Josh with us again today, just about an hour from now, maybe an hour and 10 minutes from now. Josh will join us, and we'll talk about the upcoming Fed meeting, the inflation report that's coming out Wednesday. A few moments after the show ended on Friday, Judge Juan Marchand, he's the crooked New York judge who, now finds himself in a bit of a pickle. He was scheduled to sentence Donald Trump in September in advance of the presidential election. And Juan Marchand, whose daughter is a Democratic political strategist who has taken in millions from Democratic candidates, Juan Marchand really wants to sentence Donald Trump to prison because of the bogus 34 counts Alvin Bragg cooked up in New York City. Marchand really wants to send Donald Trump to prison. The problem is he knows if he sends Donald Trump to prison in September, it will help Donald Trump win the presidential election because it's inarguable. Every single time Donald Trump's indicted, every single time the Democrats enact a piece of their lawfare against him, Trump's support grows. And people who are already going to vote for him become more determined in their support to vote for him. And people who are independent go, that looks fishy. It looks like the Biden administration is prosecuting its political opponents, which of course they are. So Juan Marchand now says he will not sentence Trump until November the 26th, which is like 19 days after the presidential election. And if Trump doesn't win, he will most assuredly sentence him to prison. If Trump does win, I think Marchand still wants to sentence him to prison. And I think it will be a Democratic effort to say, well, look, you got a convicted felon. He's been sentenced to prison. He can't be president, which they will try to after prattling on and on and on and on about stewarding and protecting democracy. They will try to invent and fabricate a constitutional crisis by imprisoning a duly elected president. Now, Marchand also has a little problem in that the acts that Donald Trump engaged in that Alvin Bragg magnified into something they were not, Donald Trump has largely been exonerated for by a Supreme Court ruling after the Bragg decision that says you can't prosecute presidents for official acts. So there's a lot of debate about whether what Donald Trump was convicted for in that New York courtroom, in a clearly politically partisan prosecution, were official acts or were not. So Marchand postpones the sentencing in order to give himself some time and to know with certainty whether Trump is elected or is not elected. And a large part of that will be decided tomorrow night in Philadelphia when Kamala Harris and Donald Trump square off in a debate. It will not be a fair debate, but the strategy for Donald Trump should be the same exact strategy as he employed on June the 27th, which is A, comply with the rules. Don't interrupt her. Let Joe Biden talk. I'm of a firm belief that had Donald Trump allowed Joe Biden to talk in the 2020 presidential debate that Chris Wallace ruined and lost total control of, if Trump had just not been the interrupter in chief that night, I think Biden would have exposed himself as an empty head and Trump would have been reelected. But Trump went crazy. Trump allowed his personal disdain for Biden and his personal animus toward Democrats to regulate his mood that night. And I said in advance of the June 27th debate, it was all about tone and temperament, all about tone and temperament. Now, I will be honest, some of the videos that I see of Donald Trump lately when he's talking, he sounds half asleep. He can't be that. I don't want him that low-key. I want him passionate, and I want him prosecutorial, but I also want him to have decorum. And Bernie Sanders, an unlikely ally of Donald Trump, went on Meet the Press with fellow leftist Kristen Welker yesterday. And Kristen Welker asked Bernie Sanders about Kamala Harris's flip-flops, radically different positions she is taking now. Oh, I'm not going to ban fracking. I said in the 2020 debates, I'm not going to ban fracking. No, you said Joe Biden wouldn't ban fracking. And you said, as vice president, I have not banned fracking. Well, it's not your call. You were the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which Joe Biden said last week. We should have named it what it was, a climate bill. Yeah, that's not fracking friendly. You signed that. You were the tie-breaking vote on that. You injected $1.7 trillion into the U.S. economy and made inflation soar out of sight. Trump's got to beat her over the head with that. In case any Democrats are listening, I mean that figuratively, not literally. But Trump also should cite this statement from Bernie Sanders to Kristen Welker on Sunday on Meet the Press about her flip-flops on fracking, on not prosecuting illegal aliens for coming into the country. All sorts of positions she has taken that are radically different than when she was speaking freely and trying to curry favor as a 2020 presidential candidate. Here's Bernie Sanders giving Donald Trump an arsenal full of ammunition to use in the Tuesday night debate.
Ideals?
No, I don't think she's abandoning her ideals. I think she's trying to be pragmatic and doing what she thinks is right in order to win the election.
Oh, she's not abandoning her ideals. And you know what? She pretty much confirmed that in the interview, the one interview. It's impossible to confuse her interviews because she's only done one with her emotional support monkey, Tim Walz, sitting beside her, being asked by Dana Bash, being asked by Dana Bash about these very flip-flops. She's like, my values have not changed. My values have not changed. This is confirmation from Bernie Sanders. Her values have not changed.
Do you think that she is abandoning her progressive ideals?
No, I don't think she's abandoning her ideals. I think she's trying to be pragmatic and doing what she thinks is right in order to win the election.
That is a very nice way, a polite way of saying she's lying. She's lying. She's hiding. She's concealing her true positions in order to get elected. In order to get elected, she's telling you what you want to hear, or she's telling you something to cloud what she really believes, because she does not want you to know what she really believes and what she will really do, which is an array of nutty, crazy things that cover the gamut from banning plastic straws, reordering the food pyramid, banning fracking, decriminalizing illegal border crossings, Medicaid for all, Medicare for all.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason. There is a state of emergency in San Bernardino County, California, east of Los Angeles. A massive wildfire continues to rage. The line fire covers 20,000 acres. It has closed roads and forced a lot of people to flee their homes. Typhoon is wreaking havoc on Vietnam. It's bringing flooding rains, blamed for at least 59 deaths. Ahead of tomorrow night's Trump-Harris debate, Republican Senator John Cornyn suspects Donald Trump will get a big boost from the showdown, depending on how he handles himself. Cornyn's advice, let Kamala Harris talk. Tomorrow night's ABC presidential debate be simulcast live on the Salem Radio Network. On Wall Street this morning, stocks are sharply higher. The Dow is up 412 points. It's a gain of more than 1%. The NASDAQ, 98 points higher. More details at srnnews.com.
Donald Trump's indictment proves that saving America is not going to be easy. There are entrenched powers that are fighting this with everything they've got. They want to keep control over the country, the narrative, and the nation's money supply. Hi, I'm Lance Wallnow. I'm a news analyst, a Christian author, and evangelical leader. I speak to millions of people every week, people just like you. You see, what the elites are doing is using inflation and government handouts and now central bank digital currencies to determine how they're going to control America. And that's why I recommend all Christians start a gold IRA from the Birch Gold Group, because physical precious metals are one of the few ways you can maintain control over your own savings. To get a free info kit on gold IRAs, text the word faith to 989898. Birch Gold Group is the only gold company I trust. Get their free info kit and you'll see why a gold IRA can help you. There are no strings attached. Text the word faith to 989898 and you're going to be blessed by taking action.
News, opinion, passion. Here, 98.9 FM, The Answer, anywhere you go. With The Answer's mobile app at 989theanswer.com. Also on your smart speaker.
1,000. And then that is why also, starting with our administration, we gave TPS, temporary protected status, to Haitian migrants, 55,000. And then more recently, we extended temporary protected status to over 100,000 Haitian migrants. That is
$4 trillion in debt. With the creation of more paper out of thin air, they're destroying our purchasing power and raising taxes. And should a digital dollar be implemented, that's a Pandora's box that could usher in abuse of our privacy. Loyal to the Constitution and always faithful, call veteran-owned Midas Gold Group in Phoenix, 855-322-GOLD. That's 855-322-GOLD. Midas Gold Group, our MAGA battle star against the dark forces. Call Midas Gold Group, 855-322-GOLD. That's 855-322-GOLD.
This is Dennis Prager. Now you can listen to my show when it's convenient for you and without censorship from big tech. Become a member of the ultimate online community for all things Prager. It's Pragertopia Unlimited. Listen to every radio show over the last 10 years, all commercial free. You can even listen to all my Torah teachings for free. Join today and save 25% off the first year and get a free Pragertopia coffee mug. Go to Pragertopia.com or click the banner at DennisPrager.com.
He's the voice of a new generation, willing to fight for what's right in the greatest country ever conceived. He's Charlie Kirk, and you can hear him weekdays from 6 to 7, and again 11 to midnight on your station for news, opinion, and passion. 98.9 FM, The Answer.
Battleground Talkers Tour coming back to Columbus, and we are one of the few cities in America who gets one. 7 cities in 6 states. We got to stop coming up October the 22nd at Genoa Church. If you don't know what the Battleground Talkers Tour is, allow me to explain. It is a tour where your favorite Salem Radio Network hosts come to the capital city and talk politics with you and assess the upcoming election, not just in the state of Ohio, but nationally. Who is scheduled to be here? Well, Mike Gallagher, who precedes me, Hugh Hewitt, who precedes Mike Gallagher, and Larry Elder, who wraps up the night on the Salem Radio Network, as well as our own Jack Windsor, host of the Windsor Report, heard here on The Answer every day at 5 o'clock. We will be discussing with you and with some distinguished political guests the politics of the moment at Genoa Church in Westerville. General admission tickets are just $5. I'd get my ticket now if I were you at 9890answer.com. Now you say, what about a VIP meet and greet? I'd like to get to know these folks. Well, you can get $25 off a VIP ticket by using the code Bruce25. That's Bruce25. Get your tickets to the Battleground Talkers Tour 1022 at Genoa at 9890answer.com. So I've given you the template on how Donald Trump should attack Kamala Harris on international insecurity of the United States. And that is the fact that the Afghan withdrawal greased the skids for Vladimir Putin to invade Ukraine. It emboldened Iran, which, by the way, are you aware that the U.S. is propping up the Afghan economy to the tune of $42 million per week in taxpayer funding? They are doing everything they possibly can to make Afghanistan look like less of a disaster than it was in the aftermath of the withdrawal that killed 13 American soldiers. So Putin goes into Ukraine because he sees Biden's weakness in Afghanistan, and he knows there's no way Biden's sending American troops to Ukraine. And in fact, Biden was so hesitant to help Ukraine with weapons. How many times did Zelensky, and we're not even debating the propriety of helping Ukraine, okay? We're just saying, how many times did Zelensky ask for certain military armaments and the Biden administration said no? Of course they said no before they said yes, because their position is always, no one can win a war. We're just going to keep wars going forever and ever and ever and ever. Because a lot of their friends get rich by making the wars continue forever and ever and ever. And then Iran, which got pallets of cash from Obama, had the restrictions, the sanctions on its economy removed by Joe Biden because, hey, Iran is great. And we need a strong Iran in the Middle East because if we're just nice enough to them and give them enough cash, well, then everything will be hunky-dory in the Middle East. Yeah, that worked out really well with Hezbollah, with Hamas, with the Houthis. So this is where Donald Trump should attack Kamala Harris. You were part of an administration. You bragged about being the last in the room. All right, what about the other issues? What about immigration? Now, you don't have to look very far from central Ohio. Just about, 50 miles to our west to Springfield, Ohio, a city of 60,000. Springfield, fairly good sized town. A lot of towns the size of Springfield in the state of Ohio, but it's a pretty good sized town. A population of 60,000 where there are 20,000 Haitian migrants. Haitian migrants. Here's Kamala Harris bragging about the fact that she and Joe Biden made it possible for scores and scores of Haitian migrants to enter the country illegally.
That is why also, starting with our administration, we gave TPS, temporary protected status, to Haitian migrants, 55,000. And then more recently, we extended temporary protected status to over 100,000 Haitian migrants for that very reason, that they need support, they need protection.
Yeah. How did that work out for the little kid riding the school bus on the first day of school last year when his school bus was run off the road by an illegal immigrant in a van, resulting in the death of that little boy in a school bus crash? Oh, that's a long time ago, Bruce. I mean, get over that. Okay. You know what they're having a problem with in Springfield right now? They're having a problem in Springfield right now with the Haitian migrants congregating at parks, including probably the nicest park, or it used to be when I was a kid, Snyder Park in Springfield, going to the park and grabbing people's pets, grabbing ducks out of the pond, killing them, and eating them. Killing them and eating them. Here is audio from police body cam in Springfield where a woman has killed a neighbor's cat in the driveway of where she is staying. Listen to this.
What did you do? Why'd you kill the cat? Smile for me.
She's taking her mug shot.
Go like this. Did you eat that cat? Did you eat it? No, why'd you kill it? Did you guys see all this?
No, we pulled up and she was just laying there with me.
Did you see her eating it?
Eating it.
She was eating it?
Yeah, she was.
Can you call the Humane Society, see if they'll come pick this cat up? It's deceased.
Yeah, the cat's deceased. You know what else is going to be deceased? Our country, if we allow this. Now, let me just explain why I say that. I've worked a fair amount of my professional career in Cleveland, Ohio. If you are from Cleveland, Ohio, or you've been to Cleveland, Ohio, you spend any time in Cleveland, Ohio, you know that Cleveland, Ohio is filled with a lot of ethnic neighborhoods. A lot of ethnic neighborhoods. That is part of what made Cleveland, Ohio a strong industrial town and made a lot of towns in the state of Ohio strong industrial towns, was immigration from people 1900 and beyond who would come to America with one major differentiating characteristic from immigrants now. Immigration in bygone decades was about coming to this country, assimilating, adopting the values of America, buying into the American dream, hard work, save your money, start a business, keep your head down, obey the laws of the land, and build a better life for you and your family. That was immigration in decades gone by. Now, immigration is invade a city, don't assimilate, don't change at all who you are. Somalis in Minnesota, Haitians in Springfield, myriad examples. Oh, there's a cat. Oh, in our country, we kill that cat and we eat it. Well, we don't do that here. I don't care how you do things here. That's not how we roll. And in fact, if you insist that we roll that way, well, then you are Islamophobic, or you are anti-immigrant, or you are whatever. Now, the other way that this tears at the very fabric of our country, besides destroying the only way any country can survive is shared values. The other way this tears at the fabric of our country is when illegals vote. And you say, well, they'd have to present an ID and they'd have to, show that they're legal citizens. And no. And this is a long-held Democratic position that has more than 20 years of history behind it. Here's Ted Cruz talking about something that happened during the Clinton administration that is manifesting itself in our voting today.
What I can say is we've had 11.5 million illegal immigrants come into this country. Under existing law now, when they go in and they get welfare benefits, when they get government benefits, when they get driver's licenses, right there they are given a voter registration form. It's actually a federal law, sadly, that Bill Clinton signed into law. It's called Motor Voter. And they're given a voter registration form. Now, it is illegal for them to register to vote, but nobody checks.
No, nobody checks. And that is how you end up with this Florida television report, not from 2020, not from 2022. This is from 2012 in Florida.
It could be very serious. It could change the whole complexion of an election.
2 election supervisors take action tonight after an NBC2 investigation uncovers flawed record keeping and human error, allowing people who are not citizens of the United States to vote.
2012, ladies and gentlemen.
Andy Parati has been working on this story now for more than 2 months.
He joins us live from the Lee County Election Center. Andy?
Well, Lindsay, we don't know how widespread this problem is because elections offices don't keep track of where non-citizens live. So we decided to do something that they never tried to do before, and we found them on our own. Have you voted before?
Right. I vote every year.
Hanako Dinet is not a U.S. citizen, yet the Cape Coral resident is registered to vote. Do you know that you're not supposed to vote if you're not a U.S. citizen? NBC2 found Dinet after reviewing her jury excusal form. She told the clerk of court she couldn't serve because she wasn't a U.S. citizen.
Oh, but she was voting. She said she votes in every election because of Motor Voter. This is why, even though the polls are now turning toward Donald Trump, I remain skeptical because this avenue offers Democrats a chance to cheat.
It'll be a warm afternoon. That haze coming from some distant wildfires. Our high today 80, clear tonight low 54. AC sun, much warmer day tomorrow, the high 88. And then sunny, very warm day Wednesday, the high near 89. Sunny to partly cloudy, another warm afternoon Thursday.
Concern straight from the horse's mouth itself. Now this letter, Chairman Brown, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to submit a letter for the record from the city of Springfield in our state, the southwestern part of our state, which I think highlights a very real example of this particular concern, straight from the horse's mouth itself. Now this letter, I want to quote from it. Springfield has seen a surge in population through immigration that has significantly impacted our ability as a community to produce enough housing opportunities for all. Springfield's Haitian population has increased 15 to 20,000 over the last 4 years in a community of under 60,000 previous residents, putting a significant strain on our resources and ability to provide ample housing for all of our residents. And end quote there. And Mike,
No objection. So
Thank you. In my conversations with folks in Springfield, it's not just housing. They're trying to build 5,000 new housing units, which is a very Herculean task.
8505-1099. We will stop or prevent bank levies or wage garnishments. We care and fight for our clients. Call us today, 888-505-1099, ultimatetaxgroup.com.
Marriage is a sacred bond, a reflection of Christ's love for us. But every marriage faces its own unique set of challenges. What if there was a way to deepen your connection with your spouse, to understand each other better and grow closer together in faith? Focus on the Family has created a powerful resource to help you do just that. Introducing 9 Questions to Ask Your Spouse, a free PDF guide designed to spark meaningful conversations that can transform your relationship. Using the teachings of Jesus as a guide, these questions are crafted to help you and your spouse connect on a deeper emotional and spiritual level. It's time to take that next step in your marriage journey. Text marriage to 94878 to receive your free copy. That's marriage to 94878. Strengthen your bond today and let God bless your marriage for years to come. Text marriage to 94878.
War has played a key role in the history of the United States, from the nation's founding right down to the present. Wars made the United States independent, kept it together, increased its size, and established it as a global superpower. Hi, I'm James Early, host of the Key Battles of American History podcast. In each episode, I discuss American history through the lens of the most important battles of America's wars. To start listening now, go to parthenonpodcast.com or search Key Battles of American History on your favorite podcasting platform.
Before the most pivotal election of our lifetime, the Battleground Talkers Tour comes to Columbus. Be a part of the critical conversations that will influence the direction of America. See Bruce Hooley, Hugh Hewitt, Mike Gallagher, Larry Elder, and special guests live on stage Tuesday, October 22nd at Genoa Church in Westerville. The Battleground Talkers Tour. Tickets start at just $5 and are available now at 989theanswer.com.
Maybe like me, you're a union guy who's watched your union promote issues that violate your faith. I couldn't live with myself when I knew that my dues were being used to advocate abortion. I contacted the National Right to Work Foundation. They told me the union can't force me to support its agenda. I pray for them, but I no longer compromise my beliefs. I give my union money to an agreed-upon charity instead. If you want to learn more about your rights, contact the National Right to Work Foundation at 1-800-336-3600 or access their website at nrtw.org.
Well, we are all about winning here at 989 The Answer. We are about winning the upcoming presidential election and putting Republicans in control of the Senate, with Bernie Moreno winning and hopefully holding on to the House and, of course, winning the White House back. And we're also about you winning, and I'm talking about the $13,000 gas and groceries giveaway sweepstakes, which you can enter by going to 989theanswer.com. Could you use a little extra money for gas and groceries? Oh, I know the Federal Reserve strips out food. I wish they stripped out fools. They strip out fuel and food from their preferred inflation metric. That's convenient, isn't it? Because after all, who needs food and who needs fuel? You do. If you'd like to win the $10,000 grand prize or 4 other prizes between $500 and $1,000, which you can spend on gas and groceries, you need to go to 989theanswer.com and enter today. You can even include bonus entries every day and increase your chances to win. 989theanswer.com, the $13,000 gas and groceries giveaway sweepstakes. Well, it was 2 years ago today, September the 9th, 2022, that we had the big victory lap celebration over in Jersey Township for the start of the Intel project. There were cranes and earth movers and all kinds of stuff over there. The governor was there, and Tim Ryan was there. Was Tim Ryan there? I think Tim Ryan was there. J.D. Vance was there. They were running for the vacant Senate seat in the state of Ohio. CEOs from all kinds of companies, everybody wanted to bathe themselves in the success of bringing Intel to Ohio. Well, here we are, 2 years later, And the plant that was going to employ 3,000 workers, remember the big promise, everybody's going to make 6 figures working at Intel, now seems to be a bit up in the air. I don't know what they're going to convert that into, given the fact that they have done, looks to me like maybe, I don't know, 15% of the construction on the plant. Maybe it will come off. Maybe it will be deemed, like some of the banks were during the big 2008 financial crisis, too big to fail. After all, I don't think we're going to stop needing the high-end chips that Intel was supposed to be building. Maybe somebody else will buy them. And maybe we will get the kinds of chips that they're making in Taiwan that we may not have access to very much longer, with particularly if Kamala Harris is president. You give us any chance of keeping Taiwan safe from Chinese intervention and takeover if Kamala Harris is our commander-in-chief and our military gets more woke than it is already? That's going to be a problem. Just another reason to vote for Trump. Just saying. But back on that day 2 years ago, it was sunny, it was beautiful, and Newark Mayor Jeff Hall said what everybody thought. I'm not banging on him. He said what everybody was thinking. He said this: Intel is doing it right and treating it right. I don't know if you can pick a better company. Every day and every week that goes by, more questions are answered, which is good. It'll be a dramatic change, but change in the right direction. Yeah, all you who live out there, who like to live rurally, developers are coming, and they're going to make your life better, whether you think so or not. How many different communities around Central Ohio right now are feeling that? Oh, the developers are coming. Oh, somebody doesn't want to farm their land anymore. And I get it. You got the right to sell your land, but you know what? While you're selling it, you're changing the character of where your neighbors live. Maybe you should give some thought to that. Now, Intel, of course, recently laid off 15% of its workforce. It experienced a $1.6 billion second quarter loss, and its stock price is down 35%. That is not the financial balance sheet of a company that is thriving. The cost of the Intel project, by the way, has skyrocketed to $28 billion. It was originally announced at $20 billion. Now it's 28. And delays have pushed back the opening of the factory from next year to 2028. Seems to me that that is also indicative of a company that is having a problem. How many Intel workers are paying income tax in the state of Ohio right now? Remember, they promised us 3,000. 1,000? No. 500? Nope. 100? Nope. 69. 69 Intel employees are paying state income tax to the state of Ohio right now. What about this, Governor DeWine? Can we get Mike DeWine out of his hiding place to answer a question about that? No, of course not. Only his press secretary, Dan Tierney, who says to Kent Mallett of the Newark Advocate, our administration has seen no indication construction of the Ohio fabrication plant for Intel is not proceeding according to schedule. What? Dan, I asked you to go back in your records 2 years ago when they were going to open in 2025, and they're not opening in 2025. They're opening now in 2028. That's an indication, Dan. He says the Ohio plant remains well positioned due to its proximity to U.S.-based customers of the company and the company's onshoring plans. I have no idea what that means. Josh Poland is the Chief Communications and Marketing Officer for the city of New Albany. He says Intel has proven to be a strong community partner ever since the project was announced. Great. Maybe they're supporting little league teams and travel soccer teams. That's great. Are they building a chips plant with the $8.5 billion in federal subsidies that they have received? And they're eligible for $11 billion more in low-cost loans. The cash is not going to run out. It's just, can the company do what it's promised to do? It's certainly, I would say right now, worth asking whether this is going to happen. What's the viability of a company that is struggling, continuing to suck money at the federal and state trough while we await them to deliver on the promises that they made? They're going to justify radically changing the landscape of what was thousands of acres of beautiful Ohio countryside where a lot of people enjoyed living and now are either moving out or have had their lives reordered because of the big plans that we were promised that may not come to fruition. Thad Claggett is the Ohio House, not the Congressional, not the U.S. Congress, but the Ohio House representative for the area. He says he's contacted Intel, and he says, anytime you have a company impactful to your community, you're always concerned about corporate earnings issues. We're trying to understand, we're trying to do the right thing for Licking County. He's asked, will they finish construction in Licking County? He says, I have no reason to be doubtful at the moment based upon what I'm being told. The last half of that sentence would be the important part, based upon what I'm being told. Is he being told the truth? I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. Only Intel knows. And they are, if you noticed, quite silent in that story. An excellently done story, by the way, by Kent Mallett of the Newark Advocate. Now, there's some good news. The failings of the judiciary in Central Ohio is a topic that I have touched on repeatedly here, most often as it concerns the juvenile court in Franklin County and the common pleas court judges in Franklin County. Thankfully, due to term limits and age restrictions, the Southern District of the state of Ohio is getting a much better judge than the one who is leaving, or at least getting less of a caseload now. Judge Algernon Marbley, who is a train wreck for wokeness, who hates police, who worships at the altar of the LGBTQ community, has hit age 70, which means he has to dramatically reduce his caseload as of September the 19th. And he is required to step down as chief judge due to age restrictions. So while there's all the platitudes about what a great judge he was, because of course he was the first African-American to serve as chief judge of the U.S. District Court, which counts for absolutely zero in terms of his ability to actually do the job and be a fair jurist. He is being replaced by a woman by the name of Sarah Daggett Morrison. She was appointed by Donald J. Trump. Now, I don't know if that means she's aligned with Trump, but she got the recommendation of both Rob Portman and Sherrod Brown, which, you know, sadly doesn't guarantee us anything because Rob Portman is a lot closer to Sherrod Brown than he is to J.D. Vance. But at least we got Marbley out and Morrison in.
Hey, folks, Donald Trump Jr. here. Let me ask you this. Does inflation feel worse than we're being told in the news? That's because the official inflation rate doesn't tell the whole story. Since January of 2021, the cost of living has increased by 17.9%. You can't get that money back. But what you can do is stop your loan.
Hey, enjoyed our hour together today. Thanks so much. Time for me to end the hour one live stream and turn you to the Bruce Hooley Show Facebook page or the 9890 Answer Facebook page. Why do I think that some of you are watching today? Because you don't want to listen to sports radio recounting the Browns and the Bengals performances on Sunday. And while Ohio State won 56-0, probably that didn't do it for you either, because you'd like to see them beat Michigan that way, not Western Michigan. I'll take any interest I can get. Maybe you'll be back on your sports horse tomorrow. Or maybe you understand that this time is consequential enough that you need to pay attention to events like the presidential debate, what Kamala Harris stands for, what Donald Trump stands for. And that's what we traffic in here, is truth on matters of great importance. So thanks for your time. Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you again soon. Tomorrow, in fact, at 11 a.m.